I will try to explain in this very short time that the issue is not the change of generation, but the lack of the organizations that raise funds to adapt to these new generations. But before I maybe get into that, it's maybe good to know a little bit more about my background. I think we all have the same background. We all have a Jewish upbringing. I had a Jewish upbringing at home, but a Zionistic upbringing in the youth movement in Habonim. Thank you. Although they were not able to also convince me about the socialist part. It brought me to Israel on Snat HaChshera some 21 years ago. And currently I'm living in Israel, as Moody told. We extended our stay already for a year. And if I tell people what's the difference between Israel 21 years ago and today, I remember that everybody has a white Subaru. There was one road from north to south, and the coffee was awful. So why I tell you that? Because I think that is a change in the view that people have about Israel. If you look especially at Europe, and of course my expertise only comes from Europe and in specific Holland, that's also, even among Jews, a very Calvinistic country. There was a very well set up structure set up just after the Holocaust. If you look at how strong Keren Hayesod is in most European countries, and especially in Holland, it's a work done by the generation that was surviving the Holocaust or was just born after the Holocaust. But what is now the issue? Jewish philanthropy is losing it due to too much emotions and kavod, and too little ROI and transparency. And I will tell you which issues are at the root of that. One is, of course, the change of generations. The generation that grew up with the State of Israel and the generation that came after. And that's a real European issue. There is almost no generation after that. So the next generation that came in was my generation, basically. So my parents were basically the baby boom generation, and then I came in. My generation perceives Israel maybe in a different way, but we are also influenced in a much different way. I think that much of the people in the current organizations, I talk from Keren Hayesod, still think that fundraising needs to be done like it was done 40 years ago. They say people give to people. That's true. But I'm not only influenced anymore by the people sitting next to me at the table. I'm influenced by social media, by the consumization of information the whole day through. And that's something that we really have to adopt to. Then, of course, we have still the different view of Israel, as I explained with 21 years ago and with right now. I think that change of view doesn't have to change the participation of new generations in increasing philanthropy for Israel, because it's still also for them their homeland. And then there's a very important issue, and that's the expectations of donors. I don't understand that I meet in every big organization, if it's Keren Hayesod, the Jewish Agency, the board of the university, very successful business people. The only thing they don't do is that they treat their job within these organizations as they do their business. In their business, the client is always right. In our organizations, in fundraising, we are always right. Because we think that we know what the donor wants to give. And also there's a big change. We don't have to really, fight with the donor about his money because he knows what he wants to give this year. It's only on the content that we're going to convince him that he's giving more to us than to another organization. And then there's, of course, the issue with local versus Israel. I think that the issues that I addressed are for both, for local and for Israel. But I think that for Israel needs is losing their more ground than local needs from the things that I said. It's more about emotion and kavod than about information. You will maybe say, you come up with all issues, so are there no solutions? I think there's one organization that did very great in the last 20 years. It's an organization we all know, and that's Chabad. It's incredible, where basically the rest of philanthropic Jewish life stood still. They have the best website in the world. You come there for information and you give money. And they're everywhere. So I say to the other Jewish organizations, if you want to learn how to fundraise in a modern time, look at Chabad. I think that maybe you also expect from me to say something about new technology. The reason that I brought my iPad is that it's really stupid if I can tell you something about new technology and I was here with a piece of paper. Because it doesn't work to read from an iPad from here, I must say. But as I already stipulated, information and transparency are really the things that can make our life much easier. And the information starts about connecting the real goal with the people. How difficult can it be to set up a chat with a youth village and a donor? You know, there are great Israeli startups that provide such technology. So that are very easy stuff to do. Also, reporting can be done very easily through the web. So it starts basically from the information about what you do till the reporting what you do. And it's not only younger generations that are doing that. I chat daily with my grandmother of 91 through Skype. So also she can do it. I hope that what I told you, you recognize. And if you recognize it, maybe we can change it together for the future of the Jewish people in Israel in particular. Thank you.